I have seen crowns rise and fall, not always by war, not always by famine, but often by pride. Pride is a quiet enemy. It does not arrive with warning. It enters disguised as confidence, as success, as certainty. A king does not fall the day he is crowned. He falls the day he stops listening. I speak as one who ruled widely, who was praised greatly, and whose name was carried far. And I tell you this, nothing blinds a ruler faster than pride. At first, pride whispers, "You earned this." Then it declares, "You deserve this." Finally, it insists, "You need no counsel." That is the moment a king becomes alone. Wisdom departs quietly when humility is dismissed. I asked for wisdom, not greatness. And because I asked humbly, I was given both. But I observed others who sought greatness first. They surrounded themselves with praise, not truth. They silenced correction and rewarded flattery. Their downfall began long before it was visible. Pride hardens the heart. It makes a man deaf to warning and blind to consequence. A proud ruler believes his past success guarantees future safety. It does not. Each day requires wisdom anew. I learned that authority does not remove weakness. It exposes it. Power does not change character. It reveals it. A humble king seeks understanding. A proud king seeks affirmation. One grows stronger. The other grows fragile. I witnessed judges who refused correction. Their decisions grew reckless. Their justice became distorted. Not because they lacked knowledge, but because they rejected restraint. Pride convinces a man that he stands above consequence, but consequence bows to no crown. The higher the position, the greater the fall when pride leads. I say this plainly. Pride makes a king predictable. He will overreach. He will ignore counsel. He will trust himself too much. And enemies will wait patiently for this moment. Humility is not weakness. It is awareness. It remembers that wisdom does not originate in the self. It listens. It weighs. It pauses. A humble king rules himself before ruling others. A proud king demands obedience, but cannot command his own impulses. I learned that restraint protects authority. Unchecked ego erodes it. Many kings fall not because they lacked strength, but because they lost reverence. They forgot they were stewards, not owners of power. Pride says, "This kingdom is mine." Wisdom says, "This responsibility is heavy." When reverence is lost, decisions become careless. Carelessness becomes habit, and habit shapes destiny. I observed my own heart carefully, for I knew that pride does not announce itself. It grows when success is praised and discipline is neglected. This is why I surrounded myself with counselors, not to agree with me, but to challenge me. A king who cannot be corrected is already defeated. Pride isolates. Isolation weakens judgment, and weakened judgment invites ruin. Learn this lesson well. The throne is safest when humility sits beside it. Those who kneel inwardly stand firmly outwardly. Those who exalt themselves will be humbled by time, by error, or by loss. I have seen it, and I warn you now. Guard your heart more than your crown, for pride destroys kings long before kingdoms collapse. Rule yourself, remain teachable, walk humbly, and your strength will endure. Pride does not begin loudly. It begins when a man stops examining himself, when success becomes proof instead of responsibility. I watched rulers confuse achievement with immunity. They believed past victories protected them from future error. They were wrong. Pride convinces a king that his judgment is flawless, and when judgment is no longer questioned, it begins to decay. The wise ruler asks, "What am I missing?" The proud ruler asks, "Who dares to challenge me?" That single difference determines longevity. I learned that wisdom requires tension, the tension of listening when correction is uncomfortable, the tension of restraint when power invites excess. Pride removes this tension. It replaces vigilance with certainty, and certainty, when unchecked, is dangerous. I saw kings who mistook silence for agreement. Their advisors feared truth. Flattery filled the court, but wisdom had already left. No ruler falls alone. Pride spreads. It corrupts judgment, then policy, then the people. A proud king rewards loyalty over honesty. He promotes those who praise him, not those who warn him. In time, he hears only his own voice echoed back to him. This is not strength. It is isolation disguised as authority. I tell you this clearly. Humility keeps a kingdom alive, not weakness. Humility. It remembers that power is borrowed. It recognizes that wisdom does not belong to one mind. Even I, with all that was given to me, knew I could err. That knowledge preserved me. Pride blinds a ruler to small compromises, a little injustice, a little indulgence, a little neglect. Each seems insignificant. Together, they form collapse. Kings rarely fall suddenly. They decline gradually, step by step, decision by decision. Pride accelerates this descent because it refuses to pause. It despises reflection. It resents accountability. The proud ruler believes his position proves his virtue, but position proves nothing. Only conduct does. I observed something else. Pride makes correction feel like attack. The wise receive correction as protection. The proud receive it as insult. From this moment on, learning stops, and stagnation begins. A ruler who cannot learn cannot adapt, and one who cannot adapt cannot endure. Time humbles all who refuse humility. It does so patiently. It waits. It allows pride to build itself higher until the fall becomes inevitable. I have seen rulers warned repeatedly. They dismissed counsel. They trusted instinct alone. Eventually, they trusted no one. That is when errors multiplied. Power magnifies consequences. A small mistake at the top creates great suffering below. Pride ignores this responsibility. Humility carries its weight. This is why pride destroys kings. Not because they lack ability, but because they reject limitation. They forget they are human, and humanity ignored becomes humanity punished. I will say something difficult. A proud king fears humility because it feels like loss of control. In truth, it is the only form of control that lasts. Self-rule precedes just rule. A man who bows inwardly stands firm outwardly. A man who exalts himself inwardly will fall publicly. Pride does not only destroy thrones, It destroys families. It destroys counsel. It destroys legacy. When the king falls, the people suffer. This is why humility is not personal. It is communal. It protects more than reputation. It preserves life. I examined my own heart often, not because I doubted my calling, but because I respected its weight. Power without reflection is violence delayed. Wisdom without humility is arrogance refined. But wisdom with humility endures across generations. Let this be remembered: the crown is safest on a bowed head, not bowed to men, but bowed to truth. Pride promises strength. Humility delivers it. And the king who understands this will rule long, rule wisely, and leave a legacy that does not collapse after him. I have spoken. Guard your heart, for pride destroys kings, but humility preserves kingdoms. There is another danger in pride that few recognize. Pride does not only blind a king to his weakness, it distorts his memory. He forgets the path that brought him to the throne. He remembers victory, but not struggle. He remembers applause, but not dependence. When this happens, gratitude disappears. And where gratitude fades, entitlement grows. A king who feels entitled no longer serves. He consumes. He takes what was entrusted to him as if it were owed. This is when the people become tools instead of responsibility. I saw rulers who once walked among their people with humility. Over time, they withdrew behind walls of pride and privilege. They stopped listening. They stopped seeing. And the kingdom suffered quietly before it suffered publicly. Pride reshapes language. The proud king speaks in commands, not in questions. He declares instead of discerning. He assumes instead of verifying. Wisdom is lost not in rebellion, but in assumption. The proud believe they already know. Therefore, they stop learning. And the moment learning ends, decline begins. I learned that authority requires constant recalibration. What worked yesterday may fail today. What succeeded once may destroy later. Only humility allows adaptation. Pride locks a man into past success. It turns experience into a prison. I observed leaders who could not admit error. Their smallest mistakes became disasters because they refused correction. Correction delayed is correction denied, and denied correction returns as consequence. Pride also reshapes justice. The proud ruler applies law differently to himself than to others. What he excuses in himself, he condemns in the people. This double measure corrupts trust. When trust is lost, authority collapses from within. A kingdom can survive weak walls. It cannot survive broken trust. Humility preserves fairness. It reminds the ruler that he too is subject to truth. I tell you this, no crown exempts a man from consequence. Time will enforce what pride denies, often slowly, sometimes suddenly, always completely. Pride also feeds illusion. It convinces a king that loyalty is love, but fear is not devotion. Silence is not agreement. Obedience is not trust. Only humility can tell the difference. A proud ruler is surrounded yet alone. A humble ruler is never alone, even when he stands by himself. I saw kings who feared appearing weak, so they hardened themselves. But hardness is not strength. It is brittleness, and brittle things shatter under pressure. Humility bends, and what bends does not break. This is why humility is strength refined. It endures storms that pride cannot survive. I learned to invite correction before it was needed, not after damage was done. The wise ruler creates space for truth to speak freely. The proud ruler punishes it. Soon, only lies remain, and lies cannot govern reality. Reality always answers. I want you to understand this clearly. Pride does not destroy kings because they are evil. It destroys them because they become unreachable. Unreachable by counsel, unreachable by warning, unreachable by truth. And when truth cannot reach a king, collapse is only a matter of time. Humility keeps the gate open. It allows wisdom to enter daily. It allows correction to adjust course. It allows strength to be renewed. A king who kneels inwardly never falls outwardly. But a king who exalts himself inwardly is already falling, even if the throne still stands. I have watched kingdoms disappear while crowns still shone. The fall begins inside, always. Therefore, guard your heart more carefully than your power. Invite truth, welcome correction, remain teachable, for pride destroys kings not by force, but by isolation, and humility preserves kingdoms by keeping wisdom alive. Let this be your defense, for no army protects a throne as faithfully as humility.